Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Boruto Naruto Next Generation's episode 105. When we last left off, we had an utterly adorable, precious adventure of Mitsuki bonding with a cat named Mikazuki, who seems to be a pretty permanent resident at the Mitsuki apartment as of the end of this episode. But yeah, it was pretty great. Pretty light on real plot things, but it was still just really sweet and fun, and it was a great episode. This episode, not so much. This was pretty much a glorified clip show, a flashback of the Mitsuki arc, solely from Mitsuki's perspective. So all the stuff with Garaga's gone, all the stuff with the individual fights against the fabrications, except for Sekiye, are all gone. So yeah, this is a pretty meh episode. I will also talk about the things around the clip show, because there's a little bit of interest there that might be brought up later on. But yeah, so... the first thing is that the very start of the episode, Mitsuki's worries... So, originally in the Mitsuki arc, you'll recall, Mitsuki was worried about how honest his feelings for Boruto were. He was worried that his love of Boruto was, implanted and not honest. And over the course of that arc, it kind of got supplanted with, his... Instead of being worried about how honest his feelings for Boruto were, he was worried about how honest he as a person, as how much he as an existence was. And that was kind of the one of my biggest complaints about the Mitsuki arc, is that kind of swap of Mitsuki's focus. But it is brought up here, very briefly. I was hoping it would finally be explored in depth. Unfortunately, it wasn't really at all. But the fact that it was brought up at all implies that the writers are still thinking about it. And one of the things Boruto has been best at as, a franchise is that bringing up, as the things that seem kind of one-off will get brought up again later. And they seem a lot more than one-off. But we'll see that habit by the end of the episode. I'll bring that great moment up. But anyway... So moving on to the clip show itself. So, I'm glad Orochimaru and Log are as uncertain as the audience on some of, the murkier reasonings for Mitsuki leaving the Leaf Village. How much of it was, I have this somewhere in my notes, I think. Or I don't. Anyway, how much of it was... the desire to protect the Leaf Village, and how much of it was the desire to learn more about himself, was kind of... It was never entirely clear how much of each factored into his decisions. And I am glad that Orochimaru and Log are also kind of uncertain on that. Though I will admit, it's not... the most subtle way to go about it, having Orochimaru and Log just directly talk about everything, is not subtle at all. But it is nice to have them go through and actually be like, oh yeah, this is the moment where he realized he might never see Boruto again. Which actually, in retrospect, is just a little... It's just a really ham-fisted clip show. That's my overall take. It's just, there was some... I think that perhaps Mitsuki's thought process throughout that arc was perhaps too subtle. It was so... Mitsuki was too much of a cipher, I think, for an arc that's really supposed to be all about him. And it would have been nice to have some insight into what exactly was going into in his mind. But we did not need, Orochimaru pointing out, this is the moment he realized the gravity of his decision. That was too much. That was just too much. It just didn't really work. There is a little bit of a plot, I will say. As Orochimaru realizes that in order to fix Mitsuki, he'll have to erase his memory. That he's gotten too close to his son and is kind of burning up, is the metaphor he used, as a result of that. Now, it's fairly obviously, this is a misdirect, quite clearly, because this is the recap episode, and no big plot things happen in recap episodes. And yeah, we do find out by episode's end that he did not need to erase Mitsuki's memory, yet he does bring up that could still happen later on. But it does make the episode seem even more pointless than a clip show tends to be. But I will say, the fact that Orochimaru's deduction that he could still need to erase Mitsuki's memory at some point in the future does put another card in the show's back pocket for more drama down the line. Things could still happen with that, but we'll see if it does. That's the kind of thing that could very much just, like, never happen again. Because Orochimaru even says, oh, maybe Mitsuki will have grown enough that he'll never actually reach that point, which would be, like, probably what's going to happen, I imagine. Anyway, one thing to say before I leave Orochimaru behind, is that the scene where Orochimaru gives him the drink that would wipe his memories, I like that the choice in the end belongs to Mitsuki. You know, the whole episode is about the arc all about Mitsuki's will. And so it would be weird for his will to have nothing to do with the episode's climax, so to speak. It's not much of one, but, you know. Though I'm trying to remember, because we see Mitsuki reach for something, and then he cuts back to his room, and there's that moment where we're not quite sure what he did. But then we see the drink at the end, at the very end, with Orochimaru, and I don't quite remember if the drink has deplenished at all. Between Mitsuki seeing it and Orochimaru seeing it at the end. We do see Mitsuki reach for something. So it's perfectly possible that was just tea, and it was another fake out, which would be kind of disappointing for a pretty disappointing clip show. But anyway, on a more positive note, as I mentioned earlier in the video, Boruto's consistent good use of its one-off episodes, the consistent stressing of the continuity of his one-off episodes shows up again, as Mikazuki, after last week, now seems to be a fairly permanent resident of the Mitsuki household. Which isn't quite what last episode made it seem he'd be more of an in and out as he pleased, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. As far as clip shows go, this was at least decent, I guess. It allows us to get more in the head of Team 7's most perplexing member in his most perplexing moments, and gives the show another card to play sometime in the future, or whenever they have need of another clip show. Still, this episode is pretty much entirely skippable, so it's mostly an excuse to listen to the great current opening and ending, which have really grown on me. Next time, Mirai escorts Kakashi and Guy in our next novel adaptation. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes you happy. And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!